Hey there everyone, it is 80 here once again with another game of Starcrat 2. This will be another game featuring desRow, as the previous one where he played Idra ended rather abruptly. And if you haven't watched that, I'll just spoil it because nothing really happened. Idra rage quit at the first sign of aggression, and that was that. So moving on to game number 2, this is once again the Red Protoss VT desRow. I know it says DRW up here in the nameplate, but that's just the account he uses to ladder on the European servers. desRow is, once again, a French-Canadian pro gamer whose real name is Marc-Olivier Prouy. He is a member of Rage Esports. He's a Warcraft 3 and Brood War veteran, and this is just the account he uses to ladder on the European servers once again. And with this account, he is ranked second in the European Masters League Division, Alexander Phi, with a 57% win rate. His opponent for this game will be the Blue Terran. His name is BratOK. BratOK is a Russian pro gamer whose real name is Pavel Kuznetsov. He is a member of Roxkis, as you can see, which is shorthand for the Radical Online Extremists. He is considered one of the best Russian StarCraft players, and he's been quite successful in European tournaments all across that continent. This account is ranked 23rd in the European Grandmaster League with a whopping 76.75% win rate. So we'll see these players duke it out here today on Shakuras Plateau. Hopefully this game lasts longer than 5 minutes, because that's how long desRow took to make Idra rage quit. Hopefully BratOK is a little bit more, game for a longer game, I suppose. Anyway, BratOK is setting up his barracks right here at the secondary ramp that leads up to his natural rather than the one that leads up into his main, just because this map is large enough to allow you to actually wall off both your secondary base and your main base without losing too much in the way of time before your opponent could rush you. So that's just why he's doing that. The Protoss player is getting his gateway online. That is about to spawn. So desRow going pretty standard build right here today as well. The first barracks just now finishing for our Terran player. That probe, it looks like, was being a little bit of a jerk in attacking the building SCV, but one of its SCV pals came down to assist it, and the probe was forced to stop being such a huge jerk and engage the second SCV. Nothing coming out of this barracks except for that one Marine is going to be rallied towards that probe, punishing it for being such a jerk here in the early game, as the Protoss player is getting his Cyber Core online just now as well. That's a little bit over halfway done. Will this probe be able to escape? And it looks like it will be able to scoot on out of there with 4 hit points. So a very sneaky ninja probe right there. But I don't believe it caught a glimpse of this. Let's see if it did. It looks like that probe actually did manage to see this command center as it was getting started by that SCV. So BratOK maybe a little bit of a slip there, putting that up a millisecond too early and allowing desRow to get that information. But probably not too huge of a loss for BratOK, as his command center is right over a third of the way done at the moment. He is actually getting a supply depot right inside his mirror line just to protect it a little bit more or something, I suppose. Cyber Core is getting chrono boosted out with that warp gate research. Looks like that first zealot did pop, or has it quite yet? Nope, he's actually going to be spending those minerals with a Nexus down here at his natural expansion. So it looks like he saw that expansion for the Terran player and will be responding with an expansion of his own. So we will shortly see a 2-base Protoss against a 2-base Terran. These players are spawning in close positions by air and by Reaper harass, so we'll see if the Terran player decides to take advantage of that. It doesn't look like he has decided to use any Reapers quite yet, because of course he doesn't even have a tech lab on that first barracks. The first Stalker is coming out pretty shortly for our Protoss player as well. Looks like he's getting 2 more gateways, so we will have 3 gateways along with that 1 Cyber Core in short order. This Nexus is approaching halfway done, warping in for the Protoss player, just as the command center has started to become an orbital down here at the Terran player's natural expansion. Looks like a bunker being built here, about to be finished, just to help bolster the defenses at this ramp, to make sure the Protoss player can't do anything crazy aggressive here in the early game. He is going to be getting a proxy pylon right now, actually allowing for that a sliver of this power grid to actually reach the low ground, so they don't have to warp in here and walk all the way down. They can just warp in right down there at right away. The Terran player has started to get some mules. Let's take a look at that income tab, and there we go. The Terran player is a little bit ahead, although they are even in the harvesters because of those lovely mules that Terran players enjoy so very much. A couple of probes being queued up here at that Nexus, a couple of more transferring from the main, so the natural expansion for the Protoss player will be fully saturated, or will be starting to get fully saturated here in the near future. Looks like a robo facility actually going to be constructed by desRow, along with his second pylon, just to make sure his buildings don't all get unpowered with the loss of a single pylon. You never want to do that as a Protoss player. You never want to see one pylon get taken out and then just kind of cry yourself to sleep as all your buildings are unpowered. Looks like 2 more barracks being built right here for BratOK, as he has lifted off that original barracks and put a reactor on it here in the main base. A factory is online with a tech lab as well, so we'll see siege tech started to be researched along with some siege tanks being churned out by that factory from the Terran player's base. So it looks like a solid M&M build with some tank support coming out of our Terran player. Nothing crazy happening down there at the natural expansion. The protest player is going to be getting a pylon, and also he has, it looks like, 3 sentries right now will be the brunt of his army, just letting them build up some energy here in the early game. And there we go, the robo facility has finished warping in. What will he be getting out of here? Probably an observer in the near future once he decides to actually click it and build something. And there we go, the observer has just now started. He has 3 warp gates online at this current moment. Against the Terran players, 3 barracks. Looks like he's building a tech lab on this one and a tech lab on this one as well. So the Terran player will have access to 4 production facilities worth of barracks units, because of course this reactor means he can build 2 at once from this barracks, and he also has siege tanks just continually churning out of that factory as well. So we'll have to wait and see what these players decide to compose their army with once the engagement does actually happen here in the future. Combat Shields and Stimpack both being researched from these 2 tech labs. Of course, Combat Shields will be finishing much quicker than Stimpack, which takes so very long. It is painful for Terran players to have to wait for that Stimpack research. It takes so much longer than even anything else in the game, as you'll often hear Terran players say. This observer has been rallied to go all the way across the Terran player's base. We'll see that nothing too crazy is happening. He will be able to see the exact production facility composition for our Terran player. That starport is a little bit over halfway done, so we'll probably see some medevacs being churned out of there, unless he has some thoughts of some little late but still effective anti-harass. We'll have to wait and see what he decides to do, as we do have that Robo Bay on, so we have Colossi production just now starting for our protest player. Probably going to get Thermal Lance in the near future as well. Nope, just started that. So as soon as I say it, he has already done it. 2 more gateways online as well. So we'll see 5 gateways, or warp gates rather, along with that 1 robo just churning out Colossi. And that will be combating the Marines, Marauders, and tanks of our Terran player with a reactor coming up here, so it will be medevacs coming out of here. We'll see BratOK try to get 4 or maybe even 6 medevacs out of that reactor starport before he has to start Viking production, because the more medevacs you can get out here before you're forced to start Vikings means that your units will be that much healthier and that much more resilient to damage when the engagement does happen. But of course, you don't want to wait too long, as then the Colossi just rain down fiery destruction all over your M&M face, and you don't want that either. So it's really just up to the Terran player to make that transition at the correct moment and not allow him to be blown out either by Colossi or by a lack of medevacs, where his Marines and Marauders just are not very effective because they can't be healed, which is a major factor in how effective they are. A great scan going off there, sensing that the observer was indeed in that location, and he manages to take it out. So well done by the Terran player. The protest player right now has 4 sentries, 4 zealots, and that 1 Colossus with another, looks like, pair of Colossi coming online. Twilight Council going up. This might just be for research, or he might be having some thoughts of DT or High Templars. We'll have to wait and see, as he does have ground weapons level 1 just now started for our protest player. Does the Terran player have anything in the way of upgrades? Nothing quite yet on his army in the ground or in the air or in the vehicle department. So not quite yet anything upgrades wise for our Terran player. That one stalker seeing the protest army, or the Terran army rather, and deciding that he would rather not throw his life away. This is quite a formidable Terran ball right here. It looks like a dozen plus a couple of more. It looks like 16 Marines along with 3 tanks, 2 Vikings, and 8 Marauders as well. So a pretty healthy composition right now for our Terran player, going up against, now it looks like 6 stalkers, or rather 2 stalkers, 8 zealots, 4 sentries, and 2 colossi. He is now getting charge out of that Twilight Council, so he will be getting charge lots before blink stalkers, as his army does have more zealots right now than it does have stalkers. Thermal Lance has finished, so these colossi will be killing machines, especially once the attack upgrades start to pile up. With that 2 attacks per every round of attacks, they do 15 damage, range of 9 with 2 attacks, so 30 damage every time they attack from a range of 9, so very effective. As we have Warp Prisms coming towards the mineral line of the Terran player, they see that, and the SCVs just evacuate out of there, as 2 zealots have now dropped and are taking out some of the SCVs on the gas. So we'll keep an eye on that over there as well. I'll just select one of these zealots and see how it is doing in the kills. There are only 1 kill total right now between those 2 zealots, and now the Terran army has reached the front door, and this Colossus will be destroyed instantly by, it looks like 4 or actually 6 Vikings. So that 1 Colossus really did not pay for itself for our protest player, but But here we go, folks. The engagement is now going to be taking place right at the Protoss player's front door outside the ramp up into his natural. Tanks sieging up, so the Terran player has decided to take over this area of the map, bombarding pylons until the Protoss player is able to muster up enough of a force to be able to counterattack this. Luckily for the Protoss player, he does have these pylons allowing units to warp in the low ground, so they can actually rally with the majority of the army before they get engaged by the Terran player's army. That one pylon does get taken out, and now this Nexus is ripe for the picking. But here comes the Protoss army. Guardian Shield going up, and here we go, folks. Tanks just bombarding as Marines and Marauders are firing from the back. Colossi trying to churn out some damage with their extended thermal lance, heat rays, but only one is still alive, and now it's just a majority of Zealots up in the faces of Marauders, and Stalkers trying to hold their own. All the Colossi are now taken out, so these Vikings aren't really doing anything. We'll see if BratOK decides to land them or what he wants to do with them. That War Prism still in the top right corner, it looks like. And now we have the Protoss army just retreating back into the main of his composition. And the Terran army is still pretty healthy out here at the front door of the Protoss. And the War Prism is still activated over here, so that can be used at any point. And here we go, Charge Slots running in here and taking out Marauders. One tank is still alive, but that will probably get taken out. Vikings are landing to try to help out in the cause, but just a little bit of too little too late, and they will be steamrolled as well. So now the Protoss player has eliminated the Terran army at his front door. This War Prism is active here in the back of the main base of the Terran. There's a command center going up here, but there's actually a pylon right there, allowing units to be warped in whenever the Protoss player wants to. And this SCV, seeing this, decides to just give up on life and do nothing at all. And Zealots are loose inside the mineral line of the Terran player, so he will have some work to do right there, trying to hold that off with a combination of tanks and Marauders. Those Zealots are actually doing a lot of damage. And at the front door, meanwhile, the supply depot wall is not doing too well, and it looks like some supply drops were actually called down. Oh, those were bunkers, never mind. Completely confused myself right there. Charge Lots just running around, forcing that orbital command to lift off, and now we have the Protoss player knocking on the Terran's front door. Just taking a quick look at that Workers Lost tab, 10 and 11, so pretty even right there. Just so that APM tab up, and both of those are, of course, really high up. But the Terran player does have the high ground right now, but Colossi laughing at that high ground, deciding to say, take this up in your high ground, and raining down some thermal lance heat beams on them. A couple of Stalkers still alive. Meanwhile, Sentries just firing from this little niche down here. Zealots running up and actually managing to push back the small force of Marines, Marauders, and Mules, it looks like. And BratOK will actually GG out of this game. So desRow, very well done, holding that attack at his front door while keeping a little bit of a threat of War Prism harass, and then just running across the map with his forces and counterattacking very well, steamrolling through the natural expansion of our Terran player and then running up into the main. And BratOK decides that it is not worth it to stay in this game. He decided he was probably going to lose. So desRow, with his whopping almost 200 APM, does take this game down. Very well played, desRow, taking down 2 games in a row on my channel. So of course he is now officially my new favorite player. At any rate, I hope you guys enjoyed this game at least much more than the previous one, since we actually did see a couple of attacks and engagements happen. And I will see you guys next time.